Welcome back. My name is Tanya, and today I'm coming to you with another video, another topic, and I'm hoping that this is entertaining and helpful to anyone who is currently looking to get married. So, this topic is things that help me prepare for marriage. So, I first want to start off this story in the place of where I was when I decided that I was ready for marriage. I will never forget the day I was sitting in my kitchen thinking, and I thought to myself, I said, Almighty, I am ready for a husband. I am happy in my life. I'm in a good place as far as my finances is concerned, and it's just me here. I had my own place at that time. My car was paid off. I was just in a good place. I had been in my job for about 4 years. I was in a good head space. And I said, I want a husband. I am ready for marriage. Upon making that statement, I felt like this happy sensation come over me because those were words and thoughts that I had never had before. So, how I ended up with a Nigerian husband is a whole nother backstory, which is important to tie into where I am today. As you know, I'm married to a Nigerian. We have been married for 8 years and we're enjoying a successful and happy marriage up until this point. So I wanted to be able to come in front of you guys and share a little bit about how that happened. When I was 19 years old, I dated a Nigerian guy. He was also from my husband's tribe. He was Igbo. I dated him and I found that relationship to be very difficult. He was an older guy. I want to say he was in his mid 30s at that time. I was 19. And you guys know when you're 19, you're in America when you're 19, you think you're grown, you feeling yourself. So the last thing you want is a man to start to act like a father to you, try to rule you or tell you what you can and what you can't do. And I will never forget the day he told me that when I meet his parents, I must bow to them. Moi. Bow to who at 19? I was feeling myself and I wasn't about to bow to anyone. And I told him straight up, just like that, I'm not bowing to your parents. I don't even bow to my own parents. So how would I bow to yours? In that relationships, we just had a lot of difficulty, a lot of challenges, a lot of cultural differences, a lot of things that he expected of me that I just know it wasn't going to happen. Not in this lifetime. So upon exiting that relationship, which was very difficult to get out of, I stopped answering his calls. I stopped, making any contact with him. But he would just keep coming to my family's house. He was familiar with where I lived. It wasn't until after I moved from with my mom that I was now out on my own, that he didn't know where I was. So that made it easier for me to release and let go of that relationship. Fast forward. So after that, I decided I can't date a Nigerian. It just wasn't for me. It just didn't work. It just wasn't for me. I knew that I'm very headstrong, and just someone telling me I'm gonna do this, if he had, maybe it was his approach, maybe if he had have approached me and said, in my culture, when you meet my parents, you have to bow to them and show me how it's done and things like that. But this particular Nigerian guy was not patient. Let me go back to that story. Another thing that I noticed is that in my spirit, I was never settled or comfortable with his story. He told me that he wasn't married in Nigeria. However, he had like 9 kids by one woman. And in my mind, I would say, how can one woman have 9 children for a man and they never married? It wasn't until I got older and began to understand Nigerian culture better by my classmates, people I went to school with, um, things like that. Once I started to understand Nigerian culture better, that's when I knew it's really very difficult. And maybe, that time and age that someone would have been with someone and had made 9 babies and the family did not come together collectively and say, you're going to marry her. So anyway, I never felt okay in my spirit. My intuition was telling me the whole time that something was off. Not even that I was thinking of marriage at that time, not at all. Not at 19. I wasn't thinking about marriage. I was thinking about college, and that's what was my focus as well. He was someone I worked with and was interested in me at that time. He was, very nice, very charming, you know, got me on board and had me on his arm. So anyway, after letting go of that relationship, fast forward many years later, when I was 34, that's when I decided I was ready to get married. I didn't have any other experiences after that other than me and one of my girlfriends, we hadn't spoken in a long time. And when I finally got back in contact with her, she had married a Nigerian guy. He was from the Yoruba tribe. And they had been married a little bit, and she ended up having a party at her house for for her birthday. It was a party for her birthday. I went to the party and tons of Nigerian men everywhere. And that time I was still pretty young, maybe about 24, 20. No, I was about 31 maybe, or no, about 30. I would say about 30 years old that time, 30 years of age at that time. I hate to say old, 31 years of age at that time. And went to the party, of course, guys everywhere. A lot of guys was interested in what I had going on. And she would always tell me, Tanya, my husband's friend asked about you. This one asked about you. This one asked about you. And I would just be like, no, thank you. I don't date Nigerians. That was my attitude. I don't date Nigerian guys. And it just wasn't on the plate, wasn't on the table for me. Dating a Nigerian was just not on the table for me. However, the day that I sat down in my kitchen, that I said, God, Most High, I am happy and I'm in a good place in my life, and I want to share this happiness with someone. I'm ready for a husband. That I heard the voice clear as day that said the most unthinkable thing that you guys can think of. And that voice said, your husband is going to come from Africa. Your husband is going to be an African. At that moment, I was thinking to myself, Africa is a huge continent. And I just kept my thought there. So I didn't remove it from the table. I didn't take it off the table and say, I don't want to get married. I just left it there. And then I was led to write down 5 things that I wanted in a husband. 5 things that I would compromise on. 5 things that I would compromise on. And about 3 things that I did not need in a husband. 3 things that I did not want. Working through the list of what I wanted and what I was willing to compromise was challenging. Because you have to be able to compromise in a marriage. And this was my very first experience of compromising things that I needed and I wanted in a man. So I'm in a place where I'm ready for marriage. My car's paid off. Got my own place. Been at my job for 4 years. Financially, I'm in a good place. I'm happy. You guys listen very well, ladies. I am happy and I'm ready to share that happiness with someone. It's not that you're looking for someone to make you happy. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. You have to be okay within yourself before you introduce someone into your space, you know? So I did that. I wrote that list out. I was back and forth between things I was willing to compromise with and the things that I absolutely needed. I want to share with you guys some of the things that I would put on that list just so that list it was like tailor made husband. Like, this is absolutely the perfect guy for me. So one thing I will tell you guys that I absolutely needed on that list was he had to love God first. That was the first thing on the list. The second thing on the list was he has to love me. He had to be into me. I had some other things on the list. I can't remember those things, the other three things I had on my five, but I remember struggling back and forth where I was like, I want someone who don't cheat. Now that I just said that, I think of another thing I had on the list. Another thing I had on the list was I didn't want someone who liked to be in the streets. I wanted somebody just as committed and was ready for marriage, just like I was. After I got all those things down on the list, and ladies, like I said, I'm telling you guys to be specific on your list. I remember hearing when I was younger, women would be like, "Oh, any man I get with, he got to be tall, he got to be light skinned, those kind of things." No, I didn't put those things on my list. But God know I like attractive men. So he knew he wasn't going to send me no booger. And I'm just going to roll with that booger. So no. No boogers came. No, I didn't see no boogers. He sent me exactly the type of men that I was attracted to. But these characteristics had to be in place. And let me just share with you ladies the reason why this list is so important. It really narrows down the BS. Like, if you know you have these three things on your I don't want list, and a guy come up in your space trying to holler and come up on you, and you start to talk to him or whatever, and you immediately start hearing those things you know that was on your I do not want list, you do away with that. You're done with that. This list was like the best thing I could have done, because otherwise I feel like I may have been going about dating in the wrong way. Maybe I would meet a guy thinking that things are going to go in the direction that I desired them to go into, and had intimacy with the guy only to find out a few months or a month or weeks down the line he an asshole, or he's not what I'm looking for. It's not going to work with him. This list prevented me from getting into that space where I was giving myself to all these guys that I may have been dating and finding out afterwards that they're not the one. I knew up front in the door within 3 weeks with no intimacy, just talking, getting to know the person, that this wasn't going to work. He got everything I don't like. So the list is just the best thing you can do, ladies. It's important when you're looking for someone to know what you want and to know what you don't want. If you want a man that loves you unconditionally, you know the part about him having a job is already going to be taken care of, because he can't love you unconditionally and he's not able to take care of you. So I didn't write he got to have a job on my list. I wrote he has to be God-fearing first. He has to love me unconditionally. He can't be a cheater. He can't be someone who run the streets. Someone that likes to hang out in the streets. Nope. I mean, none of those. That just didn't fall into my idea of what marriage would be. Somebody that like to run the streets, maybe they're not ready for marriage. That's what they want to be. They want to be in the streets, and that's fine. But that's not where I want to be, because I am ready for marriage, right? So anyway, on with the story. I ended up meeting a guy. He was from Nigeria. That time he was in Korea. Very handsome guy. My type of guy. Traveled to Korea. 15-hour flight. Flew Korea Air. Best flight of my life. Got there. Spent time with him for about a week, I want to say I stayed. I took vacation, so I stayed a week in Korea with the guy. Very nice. But something was off. I just, in my spirit, and this is why I'm telling you, ladies, you know better than anybody. Please follow your intuition when you're dating. Follow your intuition. If you're getting that uncomfortableness in your stomach, or something in your mind is saying something is off, something is not right, listen and slow down, pull back. This guy was also Igbo, like my husband. Something about Igbo men, I don't know, they just work for me for some reason. So anyway, I spent my time in Korea, and the very first night before I left, the guy proposed to me. Gave me a ring. Shocked and kind of just like taken back, I accepted the ring. Went back to the States. Continued to communicate with the guy. I'm engaged now. So now I'm conducting myself like I'm married. No more dating. All those things are out the window, because I think I may have found the one. So fast forward a little bit. I'm still moving along with the person, but I still have that uneasiness in my belly about him. So he asked me to come to Nigeria to meet his family. I went to Nigeria, 12-hour flight, to meet his family. And it was nice. His family was nice. His mom was really sweet. You know, I won't say sweet. She was nice. She was a kind person. And my stay there was nothing but pleasant. Until things started coming up. I started seeing things while I was there. I saw a message pop up from when he was in Korea, or from someone from when he was in Korea, and I didn't like what that message said. I didn't like the way that message looked. It was kind of off to me. I kept watching while I was there, because that's ultimately what I was there for. I was there to check his family out, see what the atmosphere was like with his family, the spiritual sense of what he was like, because I'm now able to spend more time in his space, you know, to see what that was like. And things were not matching up. I will never forget that they invited me to a church service while I was there, and he wanted him and I to go and visit with this pastor at a church at night. And when his sister, and her husband decided that this was going to happen, we were on our way. So I told him, you can go in there and see the pastor, but I don't need to see the pastor. I don't know him. I'm not going to go and see someone that I have no knowledge of to seek spiritual guidance. So I refused to go in. We went. His sister and her husband went in, and he went in. No, he actually stayed out with me. Him and the sister went in, and I stayed outside with his sister's son, the little baby, kid. I refused to go in. And I think it's really important to be confident in who you are and have some spiritual guidance as well, because I don't know what things would have turned out like if I had of said yes to that spiritual engagement. I hear people say that nothing can happen unless you accept or allow something in. And I'm glad I was in the right headspace that night, because I completely refused. I wasn't going in for anything. He's not my pastor. I'm not going in to see him. I didn't come to Nigeria for this. And in a way, I was like second guessing what I was saying and my actions and what I had decided not to do, because I didn't want them to feel like I didn't have a spiritual background, like I wasn't rooted spiritually. But I was so adamant about not going into that meeting with this pastor that I did not know. I will never forget a conversation that he had with me. And he said, even before this, he said, you have a strong spirit. Now, in order for someone to make that kind of comment, that means that they have tried something spiritually. I don't know if it was to, Nigerians, they have their traditional religion is voodoo. Um, and so they do have a way that they go about. And I don't get scared, ladies, because not all voodoo is bad voodoo. There's some voodoo that is done for good. There's voodoo that's done to help guide you in certain areas of your life. Voodoo is not a bad thing, which I've learned that later on in life. When I was younger, I used to hear my aunt and my mom, they speak of voodoo. It was always a negative thing. But voodoo is not always used for bad. Voodoo is also used for good. So anyway, the guy had tested my spirit. I don't know what they were trying to do or what, how they were trying to maneuver spiritually, but they were unable to. He specifically said, you have a strong spirit. But anyway, I digress. Let's move on. So that night I did not go to see that pastor. So we, left from there, and still, I'm still feeling uneasy about things. I'm not liking the way things are going. And when I was getting ready to leave Nigeria, I had already told myself that this is the last meeting that him and I will have. And I think that he had a feeling about that. And I think that his mom did too. Um, I left, I came back to the States, and all those feelings that I had, they never went away. They just increased. And so at that point, I already knew he wasn't the one for me. But we continued to talk. I end up meeting my husband. Him and I met online. We talked for almost a year, and then I decided to go to Nigeria. Now, for this trip was all kinds of drama, 90-day fiance drama. Do y'all hear me? I'm talking about drama from beginning to the end. And I will dive into more about this story on another video, because there needs to be some details, and this video will be way too long if we were get into that. But I did meet my husband. I traveled to see him, and that's how we met. So, this topic was very near and dear to my heart. It's a big part of my life. This is, for me, again, knowing where I was as a person before I decided to get into marriage was vitally important. It was so, so important. You have to be okay with who you are before you involve someone into your life. Because if you are seeking someone, but you have chaos in your life, you're going to bring someone into that chaos and nothing is going to work. It's going to be a miserable mess. And you don't want to bring people into your life and have negative experiences. And every time someone you turn away from, it's a negative experience. It's a bad look for you and a bad look for him. And you keep allowing people to enter your life and exit your life with animosity. So now this is all, these animosities, building up, you in and out with all these different people. That's not what you want. Anything that we are involved in this day and age, we want positive experiences, productivity, and a positive outcome. That's what we should desire. So any relationship that's not fruitful, that's not beneficial to the both of you, what are you doing? It's fruitless. There's emptiness. No one is going to walk away with anything from those kind of relationships. So I encourage you ladies to please write down what you're looking for. So when you've decided that you're ready for marriage, that you have and know what you want. When you get into a relationship, that you know what you want and you know what you're looking for. That way you have that reference point to now utilize and say, I don't want to be intimate with this person because this is not the person that I really desire to be with. Make sure that you date. Remember the definition I told you guys from one of our other videos? I think it was our first video. Date means a social interaction with someone from the opposite sex. Social interaction or social engagement with someone from the opposite sex. I know I'm kind of leaving you guys on the hook about how this guy got his ring back, and did I, I broke off the engagement with, the other guy. I'll get to that in another story. I didn't want to make this video too long. I thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful. Please, ladies, use the tips. Write down what you desire in a husband. And when you're ready, you'll know exactly what you're looking for. Again, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, be safe, be good to yourself always, and I'll talk to you soon.